On this episode of the History of the Chorus podcast with Curtis and Josh, we take a look at the history of the band known as the Chariot. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. Without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Chorus podcast, where each and every episode we take a look at the history of a band from the core genre. We are also giving you the facts and our opinions on those facts. I'm Curtis.
And I'm Josh.
And today, Josh, we are looking at the band known as the Chariot, or sometimes known as the Cha-Cha Riot.
I used to have a Cha-Cha Riot t-shirt.
Trying to think. I think I did too. Actually, you know what? No. I was about to say that may have been my shirt that you had, but no, that wasn't.
I was about to say this was like in high school.
Okay. I was going to say, because I had one too, and I think it said Cha-Cha on it too. Josh, what do you think, man? The Chariot, episode 3. Stupid Norma Jean took 2 episodes.
Well, I don't think this one's going to take 2 episodes.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. If it does,
shorter...
it's mainly because you and I are just elaborating on too much.
Yeah,
we're giving way too many opinions about these facts, is what it is.
But, yeah. I don't know. I've seen the Chariot. I've only seen them once. I remember being good, but honestly, I was thinking about this the other day. Of that show, their like performance is the one I least remember.
Right. Well, I mean, it was kind of like at the beginning of the Chariot, right? So I mean, it probably what they were doing then was nothing compared to like how they finished.
Yeah, like they might have been touring the Fiancé.
I thought it was still. I thought it was still a bunch of guys from the first album on there, like Keller and maybe Tony. Because I thought we determined that was 2004 when you saw them.
No, it would have been like 2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Still though, not what they were in later years, live performance wise.
Yeah.
Still good, I'm sure.
Yeah, I remember them playing like a couple songs off the Fiancé, but
okay.
I was just like Norma Jean played after them. I was like really stoked for them. And then like I don't think I knew a whole lot by the Chariot at this time.
That's what I was about to ask, because you talked about it a little bit.
I think the Fiancé was my exposure to the Chariot.
Okay. So it wasn't the very first album. I thought it was the very first album that was your exposure. Everything Is Alive.
No, I remember both of them being out, and then I think Brandon like showed those to me.
Okay, cool. Alrighty, man. Let's dive on in here. I think first and foremost we should talk about the genres that they're kind of labeled under. First and foremost, metalcore, but it's probably not what you would think exactly of metalcore. It's more like non-traditional metalcore, hardcore punk, and even described by Scoggin, heavy punk rock. Kind of like Norma Jean, they're not labeled as a Christian rock band, but they do have members at times throughout their existence that have Christian beliefs, and obviously that's a big theme in Scoggins' lyrics at times too. Josh Scoggin, obviously the main guy who is the creator and the guy who stayed throughout the whole existence of the band, definitely does not like putting labels on his art, whether that was Norma Jean, the Chariot or even 68 now. He likes it to be able to be free and be able to breathe. He feels like if you put a label on it, you're putting it into a box and it has to just kind of bounce around in that box and never be able to freely grow and mature and do what it wants to do. Would you agree, Josh?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really hard sound to kind of nail down.
Mhm.
Definitely don't think it's hardcore. I mean, there's maybe some elements of that, but
I would best say it's more just like elements here and there. I feel it's more like at times, especially later on in their albums, like I think there was a times like Wars and Rumors of Wars, and then like even One Wing, where especially with like the drums, where it's kind of going fast and like the hi hat and the snare, kind of giving kind of that punk sound, hardcore punk sound. But yeah, I mean, it's not their core. It's just again, it's like it's really hard to put a label on this because it's so different from anything else that you'll ever hear, you know.
yeah,
But that's what makes them so unique and special. And I don't know about you, but I mean, that's what drew me into them when I first heard them.
yeah. Well, it's really it's really raw.
Yeah,
I think both of us kind of gravitate towards bands that don't use a lot of gimmicks or tricks, like things that can be recreated by 4 or 5 guys on a stage anywhere with little to no production.
right, exactly. Well, and even at that, it's like they're pretty. I mean, even like with what they do on a record, it's they could easily reproduce it on the stage, but at the same time, I mean, they are very free with their performance on stage to where it's like they don't. I mean, they'll stop halfway through songs all the time, you know, and just kind of let the feedback of the guitars go, and then jump back into the song or start into another one or whatever.
Yeah.
So lyrics throughout the existence of the Chariot include subjects on Christianity, materialism, personal struggles, politics, etc. And kind of like what we were just talking about with the rawness and the live sound and everything, I do have to put out this disclaimer because I feel like we encourage or we want to encourage with this podcast, Josh, the people listening, if you haven't heard any of these bands, to go look them up, give them a chance, hear them
Oh,
out and
yeah, you got to
whatnot.
look up the band.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, like, if you don't know who it is, I mean, you would think most people that be listening to this would be like, oh, it's an episode on the Chariot. I know the Chariot. I want to listen to this instead of who the heck is the Chariot? Do I really want to listen to this? I mean, there may be people out there that want to go ahead and do that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, go check
And
these out.
we
Go
give
ahead.
you an entry point. We give you a song for each of these bands that's a
True.
good entry point for somebody who isn't already a fan, not just trying to
Exactly.
get somebody to listen
Yes.
to a new album or something, but
Yeah.
something totally
But
different.
would you agree though, Josh, that a band like the Chariot it's not for everyone?
Oh, it's not for everybody.
Yeah, no.
Most people
I've
are going to
known
think this is just like nonsense or like
Yeah.
chaos.
I would say almost everyone that I've ever met that I've tried showing this band to, they absolutely hated it. And I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. It's each his own. I mean, it's definitely a required taste. And
There's few
that's why
takers.
me and Josh are way better than everybody else because we have that acquired taste. It's art, people. It's avant garde.
And this is when the elitism starts.
Exactly. Oh, man. Josh, I would kind of like to see what your opinion is of this band description wise, but this is my kind of list of what I would describe this band as: chaotic, loud, unpredictable, loose, destructive. Obviously, lots of guitar feedback, and I think it's safe to say that not just with their sound, but I mean the way that they toured throughout the 10 years of their existence, they're definitely more of a live band than a studio band. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think that probably, you just watch any videos from their shows, it's more of an experience because there's guys not even really playing their instruments,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
good chunks of time, or broken
Well,
instruments or
yeah. Well, it was always kind of like funny to me because if you listen to any album from like the Fiance till through Long Live, and you listen to the bass, So that would be Casey Wolf on bass. It's like I mean, he's a pretty good bass player. You know, he's really good.
Yeah.
But then it's like you watch him live and it's like, there's no way he's hitting all those notes just with the way he goes about, stage presence and everything.
Yeah.
So it's just like amazing to me.
He's probably not hitting half of those notes.
Yeah, probably not, man.
But
probably
that was
not.
always like the thing with the Chariot, like you listen to Everything Is Alive. And then I lost my train of thought for a second. You listen to Everything Is Alive, and then it's a pretty raw album. But when you listen to the songs from that, on either the first documentary or just some of the live videos, it's not even close to that already raw sounding album.
Right, exactly.
Like, everybody's just all over the place. I mean, that's just like, you watch a music video and you're like, oh, those guys are going crazy and they're all over the place. They're still hitting every note. It's like, that doesn't happen.
No. Surprisingly, Josh,
you either sacrifice like, the quality for the mobility, or you sacrifice a little bit of your mobility for the quality.
Right. Well, and I think that's where their whole stage presence is more the reason why people go. It's like, it's just crazy. And then like being able to hear whatever parts of the song you can actually hear that they may be playing. I mean, just get you going, it's an experience for sure. I mean, I never was able to experience it, but just watching the videos of live sets and everything,
it's interactive.
Yeah, it's very interactive. I mean, there's no standing around. I mean, it's the whole room is the pit basically.
Yeah.
But anyway, weirdly enough, I found this fact kind of strange because I'm surprised MTV even knew anything about this band, but MTV has actually described them as a thing of metalcore legend, which is interesting.
I don't know. I could see them popping up on like MTV2 when they used to do Headbangers Ball and stuff like that. I could see them popping up somewhere like that.
It's true. All right, here we go. Let's dive on into the history here. This band was born in Douglasville, Georgia, 2003. They were in existence for 10 years, which is pretty strange if you really think about it. At least for me, it doesn't feel like it was only 10 years. It really felt like it was like 20 years, but I don't know. Maybe. What do you think, Josh? How did it feel for you?
It always feels like too that they have more albums than they do.
Yeah, exactly. You start going through like the list and you're like, wait, that's it? That feels like there's a lot more. But again, it's like they're more of a live band than going through the studio. It felt like
I listened to 4 albums today and I went to work.
Yeah, that's something I will talk about here in just a little bit too, especially with like the length of each album and everything.
Well, let's talk about it now because I also like want to talk about that. And I don't want to forget.
Well, I don't want to get too far ahead, man. I don't want to get too far ahead on this, But we'll get to it. Don't worry, we will get to it because I'm going to talk about it on almost every single album. Anyway, 2003 born. But actually, right before that, Josh Scoggin, formerly of Norma Jean, which we talked about in the last 2 episodes, Norma Jean Part 1 and 2. Go check it out. Josh Scoggin announces his departure from Norma Jean at Furnace Fest, unbeknownst to his bandmates and fans in 2002. Now, following his abrupt departure from Norma Jean, Josh Scoggin would soon form the Chariot from Douglasville, Georgia. Scoggin stated that his departure from Norma Jean is not due to internal conflict, but for personal reasons. Josh, have you ever heard any like facts on why he really left?
No.
Me either. And
I just think he wanted to do something different. Like I just don't think Norma Jean was exactly what he was wanting to do.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, he was in that band from 97 to 2002. So he was in the band for 5 years, even though there were only Norma Jean for 1 year that he was in it,
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that kind of people forget about. It's like he was actually in that band for 5 years, not just the 1 year, But interestingly enough, I was listening to a podcast that was hosted by the band, a couple of band members from the band Emery. It's probably about a year ago, and they were talking to Scotty Henry. He was a former Norma Jean guitarist. He was actually a founding member too. He was in the band with Josh at the same time. And Scotty actually stated to the band members of Emery that to this day, he still has no idea why Josh suddenly left from Norma Jean. So it was really weird, just like even like the band members couldn't get like an exact reason. I mean, even if it was kind of like what you're saying, Josh, of like, well, maybe he just didn't want to do Norma Jean anymore. It's like, well, then why don't you just tell him, hey, I don't feel like doing this anymore. I want to go off and do something else. But I think from what I've learned from Josh Scoggin over the years, he's very religious. He's very in tune with his Christianity and everything, and I feel like he, I don't know, I feel like he kind of moves around because he feels like God's telling him to go one way or another, and so like if he feels like, oh, well, God wants me to go do this now, he's going to go do it. I don't know. That's just kind of what I feel like. Maybe that's a part of that reason why he left. I don't know. And I don't want to get too deep into that because there's no answers and we're not going to get any answers from Josh on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think more simply, you could probably just say that maybe after that 5 years, he just felt like he didn't have as much creative control as like he wanted to.
And maybe so. Yeah. Who knows?
Like Norma Jean might have not really, even though he's the vocalist, might not have been his band.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
Just true. Go and start the Chariot, start your own thing, do what you want to do.
Which again,
he has complete control there.
Right. And we talked about I mean, I'm not sad about it because now you got two great bands,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of a win-win for everybody. So anyway, Scoggin goes off, forms the Chariot. The first official lineup is Josh Scoggin on vocals, Keller Harbin on guitar, Tony Taco Medina on guitar, Joshua Beiser on bass, and Jeff Carter on drums. Now I'm going to go out on a limb, Josh, see if you agree with this. I think there's an unofficial member of the Chariot, and I think his name is Matt Goldman. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Was he involved with them this early?
Yes, he was on. Well, he wouldn't be. So they did a couple of demos. He wouldn't be involved in the very first demo, but from the second demo all the way to the end of the band, he was the producer on every single album.
Okay.
So he was always like involved.
Too.
Yes. Yeah. He was with them from the very beginning. So Matt Goldman, producer of Glow in the Dark Studios in Atlanta, Georgia, produces all 5 full-length albums, 1 EP, and 1 demo. Like I said, he won't be a part of the very first demo. We'll talk about that here in just a second. When asked about Goldman, Scoggin had this to say: the producer should be there to help us with our ideas. So with Goldman, he always has good ideas, but is always totally down with us doing weird, goofy stuff that may or may not be a good idea. So I definitely think that he's the unofficial Chariot member there. And then just kind of a side note before we start getting into the albums here, the band name, The Chariot, is a reference to the biblical story of Elijah and the Chariot of Fire. All right, here we go, man. 2004, we get rolling with the first demo called I Collect Bust. It was independently released, had no label with it or anything. Have you heard of this demo before, Josh?
No.
Okay. So it's got two songs on it. I've actually listened to this a couple of times before. This one is got to be like the rawest of the raw, if you want to say that. I definitely can tell that it was recorded with like one microphone in the basement of somebody's house. There's, like I said, there's 2 demo songs on here. First one is called Give It a Name, Call It a Franchise. And if you actually listen to this whole song, there is a guitar riff, at least one guitar riff from what I've heard through the song, that gets reused on the song Yellow Dress, Locked Knees off their first full length album, Everything is Alive. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then there's a second song called Some Things Just Never Burn, Some Giants Never Fall. And the beginning of that song actually has a guitar riff that will be later used on the song Dialogue with a question mark from the same album as the last one, Everything is Alive. Like I said, two super raw songs. Definitely could tell that it was recorded on one microphone. The next demo, same year, is going to involve Matt Goldman. He is actually going to actually get his name involved in the title too. It's called the Goldman Demos. Again, has no label. Was released independently. This one has 3 demos. Obviously, the production is a little bit better. Getting more microphones than just one, Josh. Now we've got 2. No, we've got more than one at least. I don't know how many, but with Goldman involved, I'm sure they had a lot more. Like I said, 3 demos on here, demo songs. They are the demo of The Company, The Comfort, The Grave, Dialogue with a question mark, and Then Came Then. Josh, have you heard this demo at all?
What'd you say it was called?
Goldman Demos.
No, I don't think so. The Unsung EP is the only one that I know of, and that came after Everything is Alive. So,
Right. Okay. Yeah, and these ones, they're pretty good. Again, it's very raw, very demo-y, if
yeah.
you want to call it that. But yeah, I mean, they're still good songs. You can tell they're even going back to the last demo, the very first one, I Collect Bust, with those 2 little things that I said about the guitar riffs in both songs being used later on. You can tell with these 2 demos and then going into their first full length, you can tell they're getting going. They're trying to work something out, and they'll finally get everything together on their first full length album. Let's see here. Oh, at this time, like I said, there was no label for these first 2 demos, but just like Josh's former band, Norma Jean, the Chariot would sign onto one Solid State Records in 2004. And they would release a song on the This Is Solid State Volume 5 in 2004 called It Is Usually the Boys Who Cry Wolf That Grew Up to Be the Men Who Cry Sanctuary. Now, this song, Josh, have you heard this one?
The Boys Who Cry Wolf one?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. This one is, it's a little bit more progression. Going back to that song, Give It a Name, Call It a Franchise, that had the guitar riff that would be used on Yellow Dress, Locked Knees. This is more progression on it because this song is usually the Boys Who Cry Wolf, is definitely going to be re-recorded as Yellow Dress, Locked Knees on their first full-length album, which takes us right into that first full-length album, Josh, 2004's Everything is Alive, Everything is Breathing, Nothing is Dead, Nothing is Bleeding from Solid State Records. Josh, what was your first thought on this, listening to this record?
I liked it. I liked the rawness of it, the chaos of it. And then when I watched the documentary that kind of went along with this album, because they're touring that album.
Did it come with that CD, like a DVD or something?
No, Brandon had it, I think.
Okay. Because I couldn't remember. I mean, obviously you can watch it on YouTube now. But yeah. So talking about the album length, Josh, this one clocks in at a whopping 27 minutes, 53 seconds. Don't know if you'll be able to get through that an entire day or not, but I'm betting you probably will.
That's one of the things I love about it, though. Like, you get in there, you say what you need to say, and then you get the hell out.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Trying to think. I think like probably their longest song is probably like 5 minutes. And I know that's probably a good average for a lot of bands, but
you know who really has it down?
Like who?
Daughters.
The band Daughters?
Yeah.
I guess I haven't heard them.
Songs are like 35, 40 seconds long.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
Yeah, it's
I have to
good.
check them out.
It's good
Okay.
stuff.
Okay. Josh, the uniqueness, kind of like what you're talking about when listening to this album. Did you know that this whole album was recorded live?
No, I didn't.
Yes, that's the thing that lends to the uniqueness of this album.
Like it
Obviously,
shows?
huh?
Like it shows?
Like at shows? Oh,
Yeah.
like it was recorded at like a tour show or whatever?
Yeah.
No, 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 no. So like they're still in
You're saying like,
studio, but it's like
okay,
everybody's playing all at once. We're
gotcha. Yeah,
like
it's just
basically like
not
they're practicing
okay,
basically.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously there's different things that are added like the sample that's played at the beginning and the end of and then came then. There's
Okay.
different stuff like that that's on there, obviously that they added in too. But for the most part, they recorded the whole album live all at once.
Okay.
This is going to be the only album to feature one Tony Taco Medina on guitar and Jeff Carter on drums. And this album, again, with the uniqueness of recording it live, was met with high praise. Songs included on this album. Here we go, man, because these are some long ones. Before there was Atlanta, there was Douglasville, which tells the listener it ain't Josh's first rodeo. There's also Die Interviewer. I'm only speaking in German with a killer banjo intro by Keller Harbin. And I also found this interesting. So, Josh, on the tour video that goes with this album
Mhm.
called Ladies and Gentlemen, the Chariot, do you remember a guy on there that was traveling with them? And I think he was probably part of their tour, actually performing too. He was a poet called Bradley Hathaway. Do you remember
Uh,
him?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's on there several times. I mean, you would know once you go back and look at him. But he actually contributed backing vocals on this song, and I'm trying to figure out where, but I can't find out where.
Huh.
Anyway, just found that kind of interesting. Oh, and then came then, which lets us know that the devil apparently is in Atlanta. Not really sure why, but okay. There's also the company, the comfort, the grave, and the finisher. Good night, my lady, and forever farewell. And again, like you said, this CD was released with a tour documentary, Ladies and Gentlemen, the Chariot. Now, Jeff Carter, like I said, would leave the band at this time. He actually stepped down because he wanted to play a little different style than where the Chariot was heading. He was actually wanting to play more of a death metal style. So he went on and started a band called Deuce Invictus. Have no clue who they are, and personally,
Well,
I
it
have no
sounds like it
desire to
worked
go look
out
it up.
really well for him. Yeah, because nobody
Yeah,
knows who the fuck that is.
but apparently they're still together. So yeah. But anyway, he is replaced by the famous drummer Mark Nix. Who? Never
Yeah, I
even
have
heard
no
of this
idea who
guy
that is.
before. But that's okay. He's not going to be around very long because he's going to be replaced by Jake Ryan on drums. And then again, Tony Taco Medina from on guitar is leaving and replaced by the also famous Brian Kuchinovich on guitar. Again, who?
I don't
Never
know
heard
who
of
that
him.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that guy doesn't stick around long either, and he leaves the band very quickly, which leaves a open spot at guitar. So they're actually down to just four members at this time, which would be Josh Scoggin, Keller Harbin on guitar, Joshua Beiser on bass, and new member Jake Ryan on drums. I'm sure those two guys that I mentioned are probably just like quick tour guys, probably, you know.
Yeah.
All right, that takes us into 2005's Unsung EP from Solid State Records. This would be the last album with Keller Harbin on guitar, and he would actually be the only guitarist, like I said, on this album. And this will also be the last album for Joshua Beiser on bass. You ever heard of a guy named Neil Fox in music?
Mm, no, it's not ringing any bells for
Okay,
me.
me either. But apparently he does. So he has some vocal contributions on this album. And I tried looking him up, but I could not find anything about him, like if he was in a band or, but
Huh.
Could not find anything about him. If you know who Neil Fox is, let us know in the comments. We would love to know. We would really like to get in contact with him, man. Get his side of the story. You know, that'd be kind of cool. Like an in-depth analysis of Unsung EP and his time recording that album.
I want to talk to that guy.
Just like their last album, Josh, this album would be met with high praise. Now, there's 6 songs on this album. 4 of them were actually rework songs from their last album, Everything is Alive, Everything is Breathing, Nothing is Dead, and Nothing is Bleeding. Those 4 songs that were reworked on this album are Phil Cosby, which was before there was Atlanta, there was Douglasville. Ben Affleck, which is Goodnight, My Lady, and Forever Farewell. Sergeant Savage, which is Die Interviewer, Germanically Speaking. And Donnie Cash, which is The Company, The Comfort, The Grave. What you think about these reworked songs, Josh?
I liked him.
Did you
I
would
like this one.
you would you say you would like it better than how they were on the last album?
Eh,
About the
I don't
same,
know.
maybe.
It's just different.
Yeah. Well, it's a little more. It feels like more clean, more cleaned up sound, at least to those. You know.
Yeah. And they've got some
But,
like weird little add-ons and stuff.
yeah, exactly. There's also 2 brand new songs. The first one's called Yanni Depp, is the intro to the album, which is a pretty good song. And there's also Kenny Gibbler, or otherwise known as Play the Piano Like a Disease. This song is actually going to be featured on their next album, The Fiance. It will be reworked as the song Then Came Then. No, wait.
That's a good one.
Wow. Okay, I really messed that one up. It's reworked as Then Came to Kill. I have no clue where I was going with that one. Josh, I'm wondering if you know this fact. This is actually the first time that the iconic skull logo from the Chariot is used. Is actually imprinted on the CD itself. Did you have the CD, or did you just have it digitally?
Which one?
Unsung.
No, I actually had a copy of Unsung
Okay.
because it
Do you
has all
remember?
the names of the songs around the outside of the album or the
Yeah.
disc.
Do you remember seeing the skull on the disc?
No, but my copy
Okay.
was pretty banged up. I think my copy was pink.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, apparently this is the first time that they used the iconic skull logo that we would know we would later be familiar with in their existence. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, from like
Yeah.
Wars.
Who doesn't? If you don't know what we're talking about, what are you doing with your life, man? Get with the program. Check out the
You don't know
Chariot.
shit about the Chariot.
All right. So, like I said earlier, last album for Keller Harbin and Joshua Beiser. Keller would be replaced by John Terry on guitar, and Joshua Beiser would be replaced by Dan Eaton on bass, but only for a short time, because very soon Dan would move to guitar and make way for the very famous, the one and only John Casey Wolf Kindler on bass. And I think it's safe to say that yes, Josh is the face of the Chariot, but John is I don't want to say the backbone, but I mean he's very iconic. I mean that's one of the things. That's one of the people I first think of when I think of the Chariot, besides Josh.
Yeah.
Again, I think that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. His stage presence really helped them out here in later years. All right, that takes us into 2007's The Fiance from Solid State Records. Again, coming in at a whopping 29 minutes, 34 seconds long. This would be the only album to feature guitarist Dan Eaton and would be the final album with Jake Ryan on drums. Josh, what do you think about this album, The Fiance?
I really like The Fiance.
Really good.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I can't remember what track it is, but I heard Haley Williams in there, didn't I?
Yes. So let's go back to Unsung EP. The song Kenny Gibbler, which would be reworked as Then Came to Kill, features one Haley Williams of Paramore. It's kind of an interesting song
She's
when you
on the
get to
one
that
from
point.
Unsung too.
No, she's
She's
not on that one. She's just
oh,
on
okay.
this reworked version, is
Okay.
what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's kind of an interesting song when you get to the point when she comes in singing, because it's like dual vocals, but they're kind of like almost like off track of each other because they're saying the same lyrics. It's like she's singing it and then Josh is screaming it, but he's on his own tempo
They're
and
in like
she's kind
different
of on her own
timings, yeah,
tempo.
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a really good song. It's just kind of an interesting take. I remember this was actually the first album that I was introduced to the Chariot with, and I remember buying it at Mardell's. Yeah, Mardell. This was the time. I think I've told you this story before, but I went to the CD section and was specifically looking for this album, and I picked it up, and there was some older woman in that aisle with me, and just like out of nowhere, she starts talking to me, and she just goes, "What is this?" And I'm like, "You talking to me?" She goes, "Yeah, what is this?" And she shows me this album. Could not tell you who the band was. All I remember was the album artwork. And it was like this woman's face with like two switchblades going through her mouth, out the cheeks or whatever. And she's like, "What is this garbage you kids are listening to this days?" And I'm just like, "I don't know. I'm just here for the fiance, man." So, and if you don't know what Mardell's, whatever it's called, Mardell or Mardell's, it's like a Christian bookstore or whatever. So, you know, there's that. But anyway, that story always sticks with me
This
every
is
time
this
I
is
listen
really
to the
starting to
fiance.
sound like we're only going to be covering Christian bands.
No, 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 we're not. We're not. Trust me. It's just a coincidence that these first two bands that we're talking about uh have the belief system of Christianity. The songs included on this album uh, are the very face melting opener back to back and and shot each other. The Deaf Policeman, of course, like we just talked about, then Came to Kill, featuring Haley Williams of Paramore. And the apologetic song "Forgive Me, Nashville," which is a kind of an open letter apology from the band to the city of Nashville after they felt like one of their performances on a recent tour in their city was not up to par. And that song actually features Aaron Weiss of Me Without You on the harmonica on the outro.
Oh,
Yeah, interesting. I really didn't know that for a while. I knew somebody was on there. You know, somebody from outside the band was on the harmonica, but I didn't realize it was him. The first 8 tracks on this album create what is known as a contradiction poem. So it's back to back. They faced each other. They drew their swords and shot each other. The deaf policeman heard this noise, then came to kill the two dead boys. Um, Kind of go back to Unsung EP. You know, it's what? What's so funny?
you forgot. Forgive me, Nashville, the trumpet.
Yeah, but no, that's not part of the
I
poem
know.
though.
I always like. It's just funny if it is because it's that whole thing,
You're
and
like,
then
wait,
at the
what?
end it's just "Forgive me, Nashville, the trumpet."
Yeah, it is kind of weird when you start listening off the album track and you're like, oh, okay, but wait, what happened with those last two songs? We ran out of
What
ideas, so we just like threw those out there.
What's your favorite track on this one?
Oh, easily, and shot each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily. I mean, I could listen to that album front to back all day long. Uh, Hell, I could probably even listen to it back to front, you know. But yeah, I definitely got to go with "And Shot Each Other." But anyway, like I was saying, go back to the Unsung EP. The track list names are kind of little play on famous people's names. So like Donnie Cash, it's supposed to be Johnny Cash, Ben Affleck, yeah, so on and so forth. There's actually a demo version of "And Shot Each Other" that was never released. And it was called Elvis Presley. Have you heard that demo, Josh?
I have heard that one.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. I've heard some people say that they like that version better than the album version,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting. But I don't know.
Hmm.
I just no. Um, did you know this fact, Josh? The music video for "They Faced Each Other" is actually made up of 4,000 still photos out of 10,000 taken in one photo shoot. So it's like all those photos just kind of put together to make kind of like a little video. Was that they call that like flip art or something like that, where like you draw, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I've
It's
no,
kind of
yeah,
like
I don't
that.
know if I've watched the video for that one.
You should go look it up. It's pretty good. And this is another interesting fact, and you can comment on Josh. I would love to hear your thoughts on this because you've been in bands and writing music and everything. But Josh Scoggin stated in this album that he wrote the lyrics for every single song only after the music was written. So the music would be written first, and then he would come back and put the lyric and write their lyrics for it. Now he vowed never to take this approach again. I mean, that obviously sounds like a horrible way to go about it. What do you think, Josh? And what's your opinion on writing music?
I don't know. I would always have like usually a backlog of stuff, and then I just see like whatever music had kind of been written, and I'd go through and I'd be like, oh yeah, this would go well with that, or this would, and then I just kind of try to fit things to it, like just work
Yeah,
it how you can. Sometimes you got to take some stuff out or add some stuff because there's like more, there's like more musically, and you don't want to throw stuff out. But yeah, that would be tough to like only start writing stuff after the music was done and to write it just to match the music. I don't know. I think it's easier to have something to pull apart to fit something else.
for sure. Yeah, for
But
sure. It's just like just listening to that statement. It's like, oh God, that just sounds horrible.
yeah.
Trying to get the whole music written and then trying to put lyrics to that. Yeah. There's two track lists on this album that feature Sacred Harp Singers, which is kind of an old way of a cappella singing that was kind of started back in like the Civil War days, made popular then, still pretty popular now.
Yeah, one of
Uh,
those I still to this day, are they saying actual words or are they just doing the
so
cadences?
So what they do is in sacred harp singing, first off, you sit usually in a square or a circle, and they're all facing each other. And so you'll have like three or four verses to a song, but that very first verse is just them singing to the cadence. So it's almost kind of like getting used to like the notes, the rhythm, the tempo, different stuff like that, and then going into the actual song after that. It's kind of
Okay.
a weird way to do it, but I mean, it's interesting sounding. But they are featured on the songs and shot each other, and then the finale, the trumpet. And again, man, just like the two predecessor, not predecessor, previous. That's what I wanted to say. I don't know what I'm doing right now. Where am I? No, the two previous albums, this album was met with favorable reviews also. And it actually, just like their last full length album, had a tour documentary that was released with it called One More Song. Have you seen that one, Josh?
I think I've seen that one too.
If you haven't, it's on YouTube. Go check it out, people. It's pretty good also. All right. Jake Ryan on drums. Like I said, it's his last album. He would be replaced by the great David Kennedy on drums. I think, again, when I'm thinking of the Chariot, I think of Josh Scoggin first and foremost. Then I think of Casey Wolf on bass, and then I think of David Kennedy on drums.
Yeah.
He definitely may help make them what they are here at the very end. Dan Eden on guitar will be replaced by Dan Vokey on guitar. And John Terry on guitar is replaced by Brian Russell Taylor on guitar. And Josh, here we go, man. 2009's release, Wars and Rumors of Wars from Solid State Records. 30 minutes long, 18 seconds. What'd you think, man? First thoughts on this album?
Wars is I don't know. It's tough. When I was listening to some of these today, when I went in, I was like, oh, yeah, The Fiance it's got to be my favorite album. But they're all, so many of them are like so close together.
They're all so good, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the same way. It's like they're all running so close. This
Wars comes,
album,
it comes
go
in
ahead,
like really hard with
Teach.
Teach. And then I like the video for that one too. The video is good.
Yes, yeah. I was about to say if I would think that like if you really want an introduction to this band, I think you get the best of both worlds. You get to hear their songs and then get to see like the spectacle of what their live performance is. Go watch the video of Teach. That's definitely going to give you a good introduction into who this band is and what this band is all about. But this is going to be the only album to feature Dan Vokey on guitar and Brian Russell Taylor on guitar. Kind of like Norma Jean, man. It's like this band just kind of runs through members. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're all good members. I mean, they all understood the mission for sure. The title of this album is a reference to the biblical passage Matthew 24, verse 6. And Josh Scoggin has stated that this album surrounds the topic of personal struggles. And actually, at this time, I think it was either during the writing process or right after the writing process, or not right after, but before the writing process. Josh actually lost his dad, who passed away suddenly, so that kind of helped out with the lyrics on this album too. The band hand stamped the first 25,000 copies of this album, dude, and each member signed each one that they had stamped individually. Have you heard
Wow.
about that?
Uh-uh.
There was a video on it on one of their vlogs on YouTube. I don't think it's on there anymore. But there was a video that was showing them doing it, and they just looked so tired trying to go through all of that. I mean, just like stacks upon stacks of albums everywhere, and they each had
Yeah.
like their own like section of a room to like do it and everything. And some of their hands were just like covered in ink and everything. But yeah, it's pretty cool. But we will come back to this fact later on here in just a little bit because it will come into play on this next album. Songs on this album, Josh, I feel like this album's so good, so I'm gonna have to say all of them, man. Teach, Evolve, Need, Impress, Need I, Giveth, Abandon, Daggers, Oversee, which, well, I'll talk about it here in a second. And then the final track, Miss Montgomery, Alabama, the third. That second to last track, Oversee, does it sound weird to you?
Oh, sorry, I was yelling. I don't
Am I
think it
boring
did.
you?
I don't think it did.
Okay. Well, if you listen to this song and you think, okay, that sounds a little strange. What it is each instrument track, vocals, bass, guitar, drums, whatever, is kind of randomly played forward and backwards throughout this song. There's even a little sample piece that they play at the beginning of the song and the end of the song. And it's, I think at the beginning of the song, at the beginning of the song, it's played backwards, the spoken part. And then at the very end, the part that is spoken at the very end is what was played at the very beginning. So it's kind of like these tracks are kind of like overlapping each other, and like every other one is going backwards and the other one is going forward. So it kind of it creates a really unique sound. And for the life of me, for the longest time, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I didn't know how they did that. And then it finally dawned on me that they were reversing and playing other tracks forward at the same time, which is, it's just really weird. I mean, because it sounds really good, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of crazy how they did that. And then this fact, Josh, I did not know this until I was doing our little history here, looking up history notes and everything. Did you know, Josh, that if you took the first letter and last letter of each song title, it it spells out a hidden message. And that hidden message is the end is nigh, and so am I. Did you know that?
On which album?
On Wars and Rumors of Wars. So take the first letter of each track name,
Okay.
and then the last letter of
The
each track name.
end is nigh. Oh, is nigh. And so. Oh, okay, gotcha. Because the third, I was like, what?
Yeah. It took me off guard too there. Yeah. But yeah, I did not know that until I was doing
Huh.
this. Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool though.
Did you look at any of the others to see if they're like that too?
No, but I mean, I didn't see any like notes on any of that stuff too. You might take a look at that while I'm moving on here. There was actually a hot sauce that was released by the band to promote this album. It was called Hot and Rumors of Hot. And this up to date was their most positive reviewed album. Dan Vokoy again will be leaving the band. He would be replaced by the band's guitar tech, Stephen Harris. Oh, excuse me, Stephen Harrison on guitar, and John Terry, who played on the Fiance album, is actually returning and replacing Brian Russell Taylor on guitar. Just kind of like Norma Jean, this band is going to leave Solid State Records and is actually going to sign with a brand new record company called Good Fight Records, which was actually started by former employees of Ferret Records. If that sounds familiar at all to you, Josh, that's because bands like Maylene and the Sons of Disaster and Every Time I Die were a part of their label at one point or another. That's Ferret Records. Okay, so go back to what I talked about in this last album, Josh, about the 25,000 copies that were hand stamped by each band member.
Yes.
There was actually a contest that was held. The contest rules stated that the first 5 people that were able to collect all 5 signatures from the band. So that would be, you have to collect signatures from Josh Goggin, Brian Russell Taylor, Dan Vokoy, Casey Wolf,
So
and
they didn't
David
all
Kennedy.
sign every album.
No,
They,
you only
one of
you
them
only
signed.
signed.
Gotcha.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So you have to collect all 5 of those signatures, and the first 5 people that collected all of those signatures would have a track named after them on their next record, which is why there's names actually on this next album, Long Live. And those 5 names, or those 5 contest winners, were Evan Perks, Calvin McKenzie, Andy Sunwall, David De La Hoyes, and Robert Rios. And there was actually a music video released a month before the album was released for the song David De La Hoyes, and it was actually shot in one single take. I will get
That's
your
a great
opinion on
video.
that. Well, I will get your opinion on here in just a second. But I will say, and you actually agreed with me on this too when it first came out. Not so much the video, but like the music. It just, I don't know, it didn't hit me good when it first came out. Do you remember that? I remember you saying
Just
you
the
didn't.
song?
Yeah, I remember you saying, like, not that you hated it, but we were both kind of like, okay, this sounds just like a little bit different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I will say that the music on that music video is not the same music that's actually on the album. It's obviously, redone
It cleaned up a little bit.
and cleaned up, which is, I feel like, it's a lot better on the album. It's still a good music video, but I just remember listening to that or watching that music video the first time and not really too excited for the music that was in it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that at all?
Yeah. I mean, it's just different than Wars. It's a little bit of a different sound. And I feel like David De La Hoya is a little different than the rest of the album.
Yes, yeah, it's definitely different than the rest of the album. But that would take us into 2010's release called "Long Live" from Good Fight Records. This album came in. I thought you were frozen for a second there. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of like, you weren't moving, you weren't blinking, so I was a little worried. Yeah, exactly. That face right there, the face of a champion. Long Live clocked in. Oh my God. Long Live clocked in at 30 minutes and 29 seconds. Oh, he's fading out. Hold on now. Wait a minute. Anyway, 39 or excuse me, 30 minutes 29 seconds. So we're kind of slowly minute by minute seeming to get a little bit longer every album. But still not super long. Unfortunately, Josh, this is going to be the last album for John Casey Wolf Kindler on bass. And it will also be the last album for John Terry on guitar, who came back from a previous stint with the band earlier. And again, this is going to be the first album for new guitarist Stephen Harrison. I haven't been able to figure out which song, but apparently one of the songs on this record was recorded live, just like the songs on Everything is Alive, Everything is Breathing album. But I can't figure out which one exactly.
You don't
Do you
think
have
it's
any
David De
idea?
La Hoya?
No, I don't. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. If it is, it's pretty good, but I don't know. Songs included on this album, Josh, are the opening track "Evan Perks," the audience, which is it this it's let's see here, I'm trying to think. Is it I think it's the audience that uses a guitar riff from before there was Douglas or Atlanta, there was Douglasville, the little kind of dun, let's how to go. Doo, doo, doo. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He uses just kind of like a quick guitar riff on it, kind of a callback. There's also Calvin McKenzie, the City, David De La Hoy's, which features Dan Smith of Listener and Timbri Serpica. I don't know how to say her last name. It's crazy.
The harp player.
Yeah, she's the harp player. And Dan is the spoken word guy. And then there's also the last song on the album, The King, which Dan Smith also lends his expertise on the trumpet. Dan Smith of Listener. And this album was met with mostly high praise. It seemed like there was some mixed reviews on it. Not really sure why. I think kind of coming after such a good album as Wars and Rumors of Wars, it may have kind of dipped because of that. But it was still met with mostly high praise, though. There was actually a 7-inch vinyl that was released the same year by the band. It was called Music of a Grateful Heart. This 7-inch vinyl is actually two songs that you basically could call them B-side tracks. One of them is an extended version of the song The Audience from Long Live, and it's called Graciously. And the other song is an unreleased track from the Long Live sessions called Music of a Grateful Heart. Have you heard either one of those, Josh?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think if I remember correctly, I haven't heard Graciously. And I've tried looking it up online. I couldn't find it, like on YouTube or whatever. The other one, Music of a Grateful Heart, it's pretty good. It's a quick one, and you can't understand anything that Josh is saying. I think there was like a couple of words I could pick out, and then like you couldn't. I think if you go look for the lyrics online, the only lyrics that are there in the song, and you don't even hear them in the song. It just says this language is dead, which is actually the lyrics from the very last song on Long Live at the very end of that at the very end of that song. But yeah, it's just kind of a weird song. It's almost like they were just kind of like, hey, let's just play this music and you just throw out whatever words you want to there, Josh,
It's free form.
kind of yeah, which I mean fits them perfectly. 2011 also brought us, Josh, a compilation album from Solid
Boo.
State Records. Yeah, exactly. It was called Before There Was, and like I said, it
Fuck
was
those
compilation.
compilation albums.
Yes. Well, at this time, Solid State, I think it was 2000, was it 2010 or
Do you
2011
see
where
it's not even like put out by Solid State or whatever. It's put out by or even who were they with that time? Good Fight?
Good Fight. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even put out by Good Fight. It's put out by
Right. Well, but it was,
Capital Christian Capital Christian Music Group.
yeah. Well, it's kind of like Norma Jean. It's like they weren't even on the label that put it out theirs, which was Solid State. It was like,
Yeah.
what are you doing using our name right now?
They must still like own some rights or something.
Well, I guess you own the rights of those albums, wherever that you put out on them. But this compilation included the first three LPs from the Chariot: Everything Is Alive, The Fiance, and Wars and Rumors of Wars. Here we go, dude. We're right at the back half, man. We're almost done. John Terry on guitar would be replaced by Brandon Henderson on guitar, and again, John Casey Wolf Kindler is leaving the band. He is actually going to be returning to college. Why? Who knows? And at this time, he would not be replaced. So on this next album, guitarist Brandon Henderson and Stephen Harrison are going to share bass duties on the record only. They actually would never have another bassist live again. Shortly after that, the band would release two demos in preparation for their next album. The two demo songs are called In and Speak. Those are two different albums. I'm saying In is one track and Speak is the other track. And again, these were released to promote the new album, which is 2012's One Wing from Good Fight Records. What'd you think about this album, Josh? First listen.
First time through, yeah, I really liked it.
It's different. It feels different from their other albums. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah,
Still got that Chariot style, but just like I don't know. Just feels a little different.
Yeah, when you know it's their last album, it's like a really
it's a
fitting
really
end,
good.
you know?
Yes. Well, especially with the final track and everything, it just feels like yes, this is a good closer.
Yeah,
And I feel like that could have played into the reasoning why they ended up disbanding after it.
yeah.
But yeah,
Stick to Your Guns uses that clip too in another song.
yes, yeah. But I like it better on this one than I do the
I like it better in this one, but I think it goes well in the other one too.
Yeah,
and it's just like
good.
the shortened version in the other one.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Again, this is the. Oh wait, I didn't even tell you how long this album, Josh. It was.
How long
it was
is
30 minutes and 39 seconds long.
Perfect.
Exactly. I was gonna say if you are just around town on a Saturday, driving around, doing some errands, put on one of these albums. Trust me, you'll get done with it before you get done with your errands. And that's what I really enjoy about it too.
You could probably knock out two of these albums.
Yeah. Oh, I think there was one time I went for like a job interview across town and I got through like Wars and Rumors of Wars before I ever even got to the job. I was like, okay, that's great. But yeah, this is the first and only album to feature Brandon Henderson on guitar. And like I stated earlier, bass would be recorded by Stephen Harrison and Brandon Henderson both. Songs on this album include Forget, the song Not, which features former Chariot guitarist Brian Russell Taylor on vocals. At the very end, they're kind of the spoken word.
Brian Russell Terrier?
Brian Russell Terrier? Brian Russell Taylor. There's also the song Your, which features vocalist Angela Plake, which that song is a callback to The Fiance, the song They Face Each Other, the part where it says busy, busy bees walking to and fro. Do you remember that part?
Yes.
Which I really like that they did that kind of callback there too.
Yeah.
There's also First, Love, Speak, and the finale Cheek. I asked you about what your thought was on this album because apparently this album is described as their weirdest released by the band ever. You think that's kind of accurate? I don't know if it's like
Yeah, I mean
weird, but I mean it's like, I mean there's just, I
it's
mean
the
it feels like they
most
kind of
out
branched
there.
out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most out there for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you got some horn section and kind of a spaghetti western sound to first, at the very, yeah, and then you got somebody, cracking the whip like it's what's a bonanza or
Oh,
something,
that's so cool. Yeah, it's so
Yeah, it's
awesome.
still pretty
It's
cool
like
though,
it's the
man.
last thing that's added in. It's like slowly everything's added in, like your drums, your bass, your horns, and then there's like more and more percussion coming in. And like once everybody's all in there together, the very next line through, it's the whip comes in.
Exactly. Yeah. The
Yeah,
only
it's
thing
very
missing,
makes me feel like I should be playing Red Dead.
yes, the only thing missing is the Dewey Cox's army of didgeridoos. 5,000 didgeridoos.
Yeah.
I love that
There's a
part of the
lot
movie.
going on there. I don't know. Yeah, this is not an album that could be pulled off well live, and I think that's
No,
they're
no,
starting, they do a lot more in this one than they've ever done in another album, but
exactly. Yep.
it's a great ending point. Like when they decided to call it quits after this, like that's exactly how every band should handle it. Like if you watch the documentary, the Forget Not, that covers the whole thing. I've had a couple
Mm,
documentaries over the course
yeah.
of the band, but this one was at the end and it covered everything that they did. And yeah, they talked about that. Like they said that pretty much verbatim. Like we sat down at the end of this album and all just kind of looked at each other and were like, well, where do we go from here?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Where do I
what
go
what
now? Yeah.
what could we possibly do to like go beyond that?
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
wish a lot of bands would do that. They would just sit down and be like, "Hey guys, I think this is kind of run its course. Like we just put out an amazing album, and if I'm being honest with you, I don't have anything left in here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But bands just go until you hate them, and
Some people just don't know when to quit, Josh.
yeah,
And then others, they know when to quit. And the Chariot knew when to quit, man. This album was met with high praise. And then in 2013, man, the announcement was made, the farewell tour, All's Well That Ends Well. Josh, where were you when you got the sad news?
I don't know. I was 23 years old.
Man, I see somebody else had to tell me about it. Somebody texted me, like, "Hey, I'm sorry it happened, man." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" You're like, "You didn't hear, man? The Chariot's breaking up." What? No! I ripped my shirt now. Ah!
That was kind of how I felt about like every time I die, though, too.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no.
That was such a weird ending for them, man.
Yeah,
Because they seemed like they were so tight, and then to hear like the news of like how it went is like,
yeah.
what? Okay. Well, hey, don't worry, we will get into them. They're coming up pretty soon, man.
All right.
Anyway, so the
I'm
All's
ready for
Well
that
ends.
one.
Yes, All's Well That Ends Well tour happens in 2013. They close out that tour with a show in their hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. And the final lineup will consist of Josh Scoggin on vocals, Brandon Henderson on guitar, Stephen Harrison on guitar, and David Kennedy on drums. Now, after the band ended, Josh Scoggin went on to create the rock duo known as 68. Great band. We will be talking about them probably sooner or later. Maybe not. I don't know. Kind of a different style than the core genre, but I don't know. Maybe they'll come back around.
We can talk about them.
Anyway,
I mean, it's not just metalcore, like it's all of the cores. It's
yeah,
emo
but
core, it's
I
grindcore, it's
don't
metalcore, it's
know. I don't
deathcore,
know. I mean, they're not hardcore
mathcore,
mathcore.
hardcore.
Throw that term out there loosely, people. I mean, if we're gonna do mathcore, then we'll talk about Fall of Troy.
Oh, we're gonna talk about Fall of Troy.
You just said on the first episode, they're like, I don't even know if I would really call them mathcore.
No, we're gonna talk about Fall of Troy.
Okay.
These are all
Anyway.
bands within different core genres, bands that end or with genres that end in core.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's finish this core band. How about that? So
Popcore.
anyway, oh god, rap core. So again, like I said, Josh Goggin goes on to create the rock duo of 68, which is doing quite well. David Kennedy would join former Chariot members Brian Russell Taylor and John Terry to form the new band, The Threats. If you haven't checked them out, Josh, go check them out. They're pretty good.
The
Uh,
Threats.
yes, Brian Russell Taylor is actually the vocalist on that one. He's really good. And then Stephen Harrison joined the rock trio Fever 333 with Let Live's Jason Butler. So let's talk about the future real quick here, Josh, if we wrap up. When asked about the possibility of reunion shows, which seems to be kind of a popular thing anymore, Josh Scoggins stated that he does not want it to be planned. He says if it's going to happen at all, he would want it to be spontaneous and organic. There is no plan to go back to the past for Scoggin. He's always looking forward to the future. So it sounds more like, hey, if I'm playing in my band 68 and, the whatever, the threat even, comes out on tour with us or whatever, and we just happen to be on the stage at the same time and a Chariot song breaks out, then let it be, but he's like, I don't want to plan, hey, we're gonna play this reunion show in Atlanta on, such and such date or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. 10 years, man. We got through that pretty quick, but that is the Chariot. Again, if you haven't heard anything from them, go check them out. Like I said earlier, I think probably the best way to go about it is go check out the music video for Teach. I think that's kind of a good starting point for a beginner. All right, Josh, here we go with our questions here at the very end. I want to start off with you, but apparently he has disappeared into the abyss. He will shortly join us here, maybe, hopefully. I don't know. So I guess I can start off with mine. Oh, no, he's back. Okay, he's back. All right, Josh, what is your favorite album from this band?
I think I don't know. Whenever I was going into this, like I put down The Fiance,
Okay.
but the more I listened today, I was like, ugh, I don't know. It might be Wars. I don't know. I might still go with The Fiance, but definitely honorable mention to Wars.
Okay. I'm going to have to go with, I'll take that honorable mention from you, man. I'm going to go with Wars and Rumors of Wars. I think for me, it's a little bit backwards from your answer because I love The Fiance also. So I think I'll say Wars and Rumors of Wars are my favorite album, but honorable mention, The Fiance. Josh, what's your favorite song or songs? If you want to say two songs, I'm fine with that too. No more than two.
Daggers is my favorite song.
Daggers are, I mean, I could have told you that. Why did I even ask you? I should have been like, hey, Josh, your favorite song is Daggers. All right, my favorite song is.
Yeah, and then the other one's gonna be I'm pretty sure it's in Shot Each Other. That's
Okay.
that has the whole bit at the end.
With the choir.
Oh
The Sacred
no,
Heart
no,
Singers,
no,
or
no, no, no. It's
are you want you want Deaf Policeman with the kind of slowed down part at the very end, maybe?
yeah, it is Deaf Policeman.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's gonna be my second.
Okay. All right. I've got two written down. Josh, can you guess which ones they are?
Two favorite songs.
Yeah. Let's see how well you know me.
Since you said your favorite album was Daggers, I'm gonna say Teach.
My favorite album was Daggers.
Not your favorite album was
I got
Wars.
Daggers on the mind. Okay. Okay, that's one. Well, I'm not saying that's right. It's
It's
not
Teach.
right, but no.
Oh, okay.
It's a good song, but no.
Are they both off of Daggers?
Oh my god. No, neither one of them are.
Wars is
I did that. I thought you did that on purpose.
neither of them are on Wars.
No,
Why is it your favorite album then?
because it's a good whole album.
I'm gonna say and Shot Each Other is one of them.
Okay. You're correct on
And
that.
then I'm gonna say the other one is the other one on one of the EPs or the fucking B sides or a
No, no.
repurpose song? No, okay.
Repurposed song.
What
It
album
was
is it
from their
on?
very first demo. I can't tell you, man. Yeah, I'm giving you way too many hints.
Cheek.
No. My two favorite songs are "And Shot Each Other," which you got, and then my all-time favorite Chariot song, Josh, is "The City." I love, love, love the very end of that song, man.
I feel like you've told me that before.
Yes, that is my all-time favorite song, man. Yeah, love the very end, where Josh is just by himself doing his thing. All right. This next question is kind of based off of a question that we kind of asked in the Norma Jean episode, but I kind of changed it around just a little bit. Um, but I'll wait for Josh to get back with us because he seems to be doing some studying over there. He's deep in thought, not really sure why.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, the part at the end there.
Yes, yeah, the breakdown part basically. All right, Josh. So next question here is, what album would you recommend to a brand new listener?
I think I think best entry points are I put down the fiance and one wing,
Okay.
but I am going to amend that. I'm going to say that Wars is
Hmm.
probably more accessible than the fiance,
Yes.
but I feel like one wing. I feel like you get some people on board with one wing
Yeah.
who might
Yeah.
not be down with like traditional Chariot stuff.
Yeah. I could agree with that. Yeah. I feel like, again, Fiance is a really good album, but that very beginning there, man, if you're not careful and you get the volume up too loud, it will scare the crap out of you. Because it's done that to me a couple of times, man. Like I get in my truck and I'm like, oops, left the volume way too loud from the last session, and now I'm deaf.
And I'm deaf now.
Yeah. But no, I would say my choice is Wars and Rumors of Wars. I think that's a good entry point. But I didn't think about One Wing. I think that's a um good thought though by you that One Wing Forget is a good entry point for a new listener.
Yeah.
One more question, Josh, is a bonus question. What is your favorite album artwork from the Chariot?
This one I'm not gonna budge on. These two are they're the best ones. The fiance,
Mhm.
and I considered like getting that tattooed for a while.
The Fiance, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Long Live, because
Yes.
Long Live is just like a live shot, you know.
Yeah.
I think Wars is just kind of plain, you know.
Yeah. It's still a cool looking album title, I think, but or
Yeah.
album artwork, but yeah, it's pretty plain. There's I
One
don't know,
wing, one wing
it's
is just
weird, man. It's
this
so
is too
weird.
fucking weird. Look at this.
Have you seen the full thing though? I mean, there's
Yeah.
more than just that. It's even
Yeah.
weirder. But it's
Yeah.
art, Josh. It's avant-garde.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the fiance and Long Live, and
Okay.
then honorable mention to Everything's Alive because that one's kind of cool too.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Mine is Long Live because I like the live shot. I think that definitely again
Like
shows
that's
you
the
who the
Chariot,
Chariot. I
you
mean,
know?
that is
Yeah,
this is the Chariot right here, man. I mean, not even just like just in general of like a shot of like a live set or anything, but just like Casey Wolf, he's got the long beard, he's got the long, scraggly hair. His jeans are just patched up from ankle to butt, It's just like so cool, man. So raw. Like I almost like can hear like the Chariot just by looking at that album.
yeah.
It's crazy, man. But all right, man. Yeah, that's gonna do it. The last thing I was gonna say about the artwork. I mean, they got some interesting artwork. Um, I don't get. I mean, again, obviously, I don't get One Wing. That doesn't just. It's like a crackhead drawing stuff.
I don't know what's going on with One
Somebody,
Wing.
somebody on PCP drawing their dreams or something. uh, but yeah, some of their. I don't know, like the fiance. I'm like, what is? I don't even understand what's going on. Like, what is all
Yeah,
that? And then like, then you look
yeah,
like the other pictures like within the album. deal. It's like all of them dressed up too. You're like, what is happening? What are we doing here? What are we going for? Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it's still cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't like it. It's just like, what is happening here? I'm trying to like understand the meaning behind this, and I can't. I don't get it. But I don't know. But anyway, that's it. That is the Chariot in a nutshell. Again, if you haven't heard of them, go check them out. If you have heard them, go listen to them again. And as always, make sure to follow us on Twitter at is survived by pro. That is where you will get all the news and latest episode postings about not just this podcast, but our other new podcast, also Throne of the Dragon podcast, which covers the House of the Dragon show on HBO. Make sure to also go follow my co-host over here at Joshua Lynn Gary on Twitter. There he is waving at you if you're watching. If you're not watching, then that's fine.
And the Red Right Hand
you can hear
podcast.
him whining. Yes, he's the guy from the Red Right Hand podcast. And if
Oh
you
yeah,
haven't
no,
checked
I'm just
out,
saying, and yeah, check it out. Yeah.
oh yeah, check it out. If you haven't checked out the Red Right Hand podcast, check out the Red Right Hand podcast also.
What's it about?
What's it about?
What do we do there?
Josh, what are we doing at the Red Right Hand podcast? Give us a little sample.
Well, the Red Right Hand podcast is the show that started all this, where we went back and did a rewatch of every season of the Peaky Blinders, all the way up through the airing of season 6. Yeah, I just stopped
And
for a second.
beyond.
I was like, season 6.
6? Is there only 6 seasons?
Yeah, we went back and rewatched all those. It is pretty spoiler free for the most part. So if you've never watched Peaky Blinders and you've always wanted to, but you just thought, gosh, this is too complicated. I need 2 morons to explain this to me. Well, we've got you covered over on the Red Right Hand podcast.
Yeah, go give us a check out. Check us out, man.
We'll still be putting out episodes over there, even though the season's over. There'll still be more stuff coming out, and I'm working on a little bit of it'll probably be a small episode over just some different stuff.
The only way to know when we get new episodes out is, again, to follow us on Twitter at is survived by pro, or on whatever podcasting service you are using, go search is survived by productions.
That's where you're going to find out about. Yeah, that's where you're going to find out about all the shows.
Yes, that's our umbrella. That's our umbrella company for all of our shows. Just one stop shop. That way you don't have to go here, there, and everywhere. It's all in one place. We're trying to do this for you, so you don't have to go waste your time looking for other stuff,
Trying to make it easy. Just roll on to the next episode. And then
exactly.
You don't even have to do anything.
Exactly, man. So that's going to do it. Anything else, Josh? Anything else to add?
I think that's it.
Okay.
I think you covered them. I think you got them all.
All righty, man. I think episode 4 is going to be about the band Oh Sleeper.
Ooh.
Not much meat to that sandwich, but we're going to cover it anyway. So
we'll
make
get
sure
to
to
see
check
them
us
in a couple weeks.
Exactly.
It'll be your first time.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh my God. I got to see them like during When I Am God.
Yeah.
That was that's got to have been one of the best like performances I've ever seen.
Who else did they come with?
It was during Brutalocalypse. So it was like Knights of the Abyss and Whitechapel played. There was like a million bands there. Life Once Lost, I think, played.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But yeah, that'll be the next episode. Oh Sleeper. Until then,
I'm excited.
We will see you. We will see you, man. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.
See ya. Roll the credits.